And now for everything SEC, let's bring in Chris Gordy from the Locked On SEC podcast. Great to see you, Chris. Big Texas showdown is almost here. If the game was tomorrow, which team would have the edge?
Man, I mean, look, the game is being played in College Station, and I said it all offseason. I think the Aggies were going to win this game, are going to win this game, but strictly because of the rivalry part. I mean, the Aggies still sing about sawing varsity's horns off. Texas still sings, and it's goodbye to A&M. I mean, they both absolutely hate each other, but I do think it's worth noting, look, the Aggies' defense has been good all year. Texas's defense is legit. I mean, they just held a Bobby Petrino offense to like 230 yards of offense with 6 sacks. They're number 4 in the country in points allowed. They're number 1 now in the country in yards allowed per game. I get it. They played a weaker part of the SEC schedule, but I still think the Longhorns are going to give A&M everything they've got. And I think these are going to be 2 really good defenses going at it. Low-scoring game, but I got to stick with my offseason prediction. I think the Aggies get it because it's in College Station.
I think the Aggies have the edge in this game, and I think it's because of the X factor. I think it's Marcel Reed. That's the reason that I think the Aggies are going to end up pulling this out. I think it's because of his ability to both pass and run. He truly is a dual threat quarterback, and the Aggies are hitting their stride at the right time. I think Texas is regressing a little bit offensively. I also think that offensively, overall, they're not that impressive because Quinn Ewers, he's not making those big time throws. This is more of a game managing situation.
Wait, what? Is it a CJ Stroud game managing? What?
It has been the last couple weeks. He's made a couple of nice throws, but I do think Marcel Reed has that it factor, and I think if you are to make both things kind of similar overall, I mean, yes, UT's defense is better, but I see Marcel Reed being the X factor.
How about you, Luis?
Well, I'm going to say the Aggies have the edge. And going back to what Gordy said earlier, with Texas playing that weaker part of the SEC schedule, so I think the Aggies have been more battle-tested. They've played a tougher schedule. Yeah. And, yes, they did lose to Notre Dame early in the season, but that loss only looks better after the Fighting Irish are on a roll. They've won 8 games in a row now, so they're playing very well. So that looks good on the Aggies' record. And, yeah, I think they just – will be the one that have the edge going into this game.
Chris, is it an easy way to sum up this possible showdown that the Aggies are just grittier than UT, given who Texas has played or not played?
Look, I think that's part of it, but I think we sum this up in one simple thing. Look at what home field advantage has meant in the SEC this year. I mean, there's been very few road upsets. One of them was Georgia going into Austin and beating Texas, but Alabama beating LSU in Baton Rouge. But outside of that, the home teams have held serve in almost all these big ranked-on-ranked matchups in the SEC all year. So home field advantage matters. Going on the road in the SEC is tough. And while this is a new SEC road game for Texas, it's a familiar rivalry in a place that I think they're going to give Texas all the hell they can handle all night long.
Do we like the SEC minus the divisions? Do we like this style?
I like it from a standpoint of so many teams are still alive at this point in the season, but it's just caused mass confusion. I mean, the tiebreaker scenarios are confusing that fans can't even figure it out. When it was East versus West, it was simple. Just beat everybody in your division head-to-head, and you're in. Now it's weird because you have 14 teams and an 8-game conference schedule. You don't play half the league, so head-to-heads don't really come into play here when you have so many 2-loss teams. I mean, Ole Miss beat Georgia, but Georgia beat Tennessee. Tennessee beat Alabama, but Alabama beats Georgia. I mean, it's like this weird circle we're going around in. It's a jumbled mess, and I have to think some SEC teams may not even want to play for the SEC title because there's the unknown of what happens if you're 10-2 and you lose in the SEC title game. That's a 3rd loss. Are you completely out of the playoff at that point? You might rather be 10-2, not play for the SEC championship, and get in as an at-large team. So there's a lot of weird jumble mess here that I think fans – your head is spinning where this thing could get down to the 4th tiebreaker, which is conference opponent win percentage. I don't think anybody even understands it.
I hadn't really thought of that because sometimes when you're playing divisions, one division will have a down year and maybe you have 3 strong teams in one division. It doesn't seem fair that you're playing a lesser division, but I do get what Gordy's saying now.
Yeah, and the landscape of college football has changed so much now. There's so many teams in these big conferences that everybody wants to be in, that having that east-west, north-south is almost necessary so that you avoid these kinds of situations at the end of the year. But I like the idea of having a uniform conference. It's just that the landscape of college football isn't allowing for that now.
I'm all for parity and competitiveness. So if it makes it more interesting, more competition, I like it. I'm glad that we're not the ones that have to decide the tiebreakers and figure out all the math. So, I'm not too worried about it. It is confusing, but if you get better games, I think it makes for better everything.
That is definitely Chris's job to sort that stuff out. So, Chris, currently there's 5 SEC schools currently in the college football playoffs, top 12. Do you think it will end up that way?
Well, no, most likely not. I think right now the SEC gets 4 teams in. To me, 3 is the floor. I think 5 is the ceiling. But if you look at the projected rankings today, ESPN put out, they have Tennessee ranked 11th. But in the current scenario, Tennessee would be left out of the playoff because number 12 Boise State would be in as the best at large, or best non-Power 4 team, and the Big 12 champion would get in with an automatic berth, because remember, all the conference champions get an automatic berth with the top 4 ranked being 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is where this, again, the committee is silly with this stuff, trying to be fair and give everybody a turn. To me, it's very simple. The playoff committee ranks top 25 every week, right? At the end of the year, they rank 1 through 25. Shouldn't 1 through 12 be in?
That's what I'm saying.
Not in this scenario. Tennessee ranked 11th would be out on the outside looking in this scenario.
Yeah, there's too many teams. There's too many good teams to actually decide based on who wins conference championships. There are going to be really good teams that get left out just because they aren't conference champions, and a number of them may very well end up coming from the SEC because it is the most competitive conference in college football.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that and kind of go back to what Chris said earlier, there might be a few 10-2 teams that won't even make it to the college football playoffs. So I don't foresee that 5 of them from the same conference will make it. I mean, you got good teams from Big Ten, who has the number 1 team in the nation right now. So you also have the Big 12. So I for sure don't see that 5 of them will make it.
All right, let's focus on LSU for a second. If the clock is ticking on the Brian Kelly era, Chris, how many minutes are remaining in this thing?
I think he's got more than minutes. I think he's got years. The unfortunate thing about it is, Jason, there is a $60 million buyout that Brian Kelly would face. Now, look, I know A&M paid Jimbo Fisher a ton to go away, but schools are going to start moving away from these massive buyouts. Andy Staples wrote a great piece just last week on the whole idea of revenue sharing, and that the schools are going to have to start sharing some of this TV revenue with the players soon and having to compensate players. They're not going to be interested in paying $60 million to fire a coach on top of having to pay whatever 30, 40, 50 million to bring in a new staff. Those days are done. He said look more to schools possibly doing away with the OC and DC and whole assistant staff, and we'll just keep bringing in new coordinators until this thing works out. Look, you hired Brian Kelly for a reason, because he got a great track record as an awesome head coach. He won at Central Michigan. He won at Cincinnati. He won for over a decade at Notre Dame, where basically nobody's done that. Won at a high level at Notre Dame for a decade plus. He can win at LSU, but he's got to have the Jimmies and Joes. He's got to have the players. And to me, paying $60 million for a coach to go away is not the right way to handle money now that we're heading into the revenue sharing with the players in this new era.
All right, the man knows his SEC inside and out. That's why he hosts the Locked On SEC podcast. Chris Gordy, thanks for hanging out with us here on Sports Extra.
Awesome. Thanks, fellas.